Well, the December holidays have started and many families are heading to various holiday destinations. The beaches are a huge favorite, but beachgoers are encouraged to prioritize safety, especially in and around water. Let's now welcome Mr. Andrew Ingram, NSRI Communications Manager, to further unpack those water tips. Andrew, it's such a great pleasure to have you with us. Happy festive season. So the festive season is finally upon us. Holiday makers are out in their various destinations, having a great time on the beaches and bodies of water, but these actually come with their own dangers, right? Especially when excitement goes overboard and consumption of narcotics and liquor leads to minimal objectivity. Very good afternoon. Please caution our viewers.
Hello, Alicia. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show. I did a tour of the beaches earlier this afternoon, and it's very busy. It's a lovely day in Cape Town, and I'm sure around the rest of the country is the same thing. So the NSRI really has three major tips for people going to the beach, really important things to keep in mind. The first one, of course, is please don't drink alcohol and then go into the water, whether you're just going to walk in shallow water or whether you're going to swim. Drinking alcohol and going into the water can seriously compromise your safety. The second one is really important for parents and caregivers. Please watch your children. Understand that drowning is silent. You're not going to hear them calling for help. They're not going to wave and splash. A child or a person in difficulty in the water will simply slip under the water. So parents and caregivers with small children, if they go into the water, please be with them and be an arm's length away. So if they get into difficulty, you can get to them really quickly. The third one is dangerous currents or rip currents. And that's why you'll hear us saying repeatedly, please choose a beach where lifeguards are on duty and swim between their flags. They will keep you safe. And the reason for that is that lifeguards understand rip currents. They understand how they work. And if you get into trouble, they can help you very quickly. So I think that those three things are really the most important to bear in mind. And perhaps the fourth one is just to anticipate if you need to call for help, what number are you going to call? And that number is 112. It's a free call from your cell phone, 112, and you can get any of the emergency services from that.
Thank you so much for unpacking all those safety tips and literally going through my questions like the pro that you are, Andrew. So let's now unpack your very busy festive season water safety campaign. I know you are all over social media. I've been watching some of the places that you visited, cautioning beachgoers. You have also, you'll also be launching your new offshore rescue craft, the ORCs, and have partnered up with various stakeholders to drive the festive season safety campaign. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Alicia, I mean, the NSRI is a nationwide organization. We operate inland dams and around the coast, and we have various safety measures. Our community programs teaches water safety to disadvantaged children, and we have survival swimming lessons, which teaches children the basics of survival and how to float in water. Focused on children who would be very unlikely to have these skills taught to them other than through our lessons. And then we have a range of craft that are operated by our unpaid volunteers at sea rescue stations around the country. Our lifeguards, of course, are out on the beaches at the moment. And our inshore rescue vessels are jet ribs, which is an amazing innovation. Inshore rescue crafts are extremely fast and stable in surf zones. And then we run right the way through to our offshore rescue craft, or ORCs, which are 26 million rand, absolutely amazing state-of-the-art rescue vessels that can go out in really, really bad conditions and keep our crew safe and enable us to get further in worse conditions to help those who are in desperate need of help. So right from our prevention through to our rescue, we have an amazing group of people, mostly volunteers, who do it because they really want to do it.
I mean, let's talk about what one can do then, Andrew, in incidents of drowning where, for example, the beaches are too full and they're not at the nearest accessible point to the lifeguard areas. What can they do to assist until, of course, official helps arrive?
So, Alicia, it's a very real problem, and it's very easy for us to say, please choose a beach where lifeguards are on duty and swim between the flags, but practically that's quite difficult for many people. So, for those who cannot do that for whatever reason, understand that that is the safest thing to do. But if you're going to a beach and there aren't lifeguards there, or perhaps it's a dam or a river, always speak to the locals. Just understand there'll generally be a safe place on each of those locations to go into the water and dangerous places. So if you speak to the locals, that will really help you. Also, even if you're a strong swimmer, don't go deep into the water. Never swim by yourself. Make sure that you're going in with somebody else, or you're being watched by other people. And I think really importantly, if you see somebody in difficulty and you want to help them, make sure that you call for help, or somebody calls for help before going into the water. Even if you are a lifeguard, an Olympic swimmer, call for help first, 112, and never go into the water to help somebody without flotation. So the NSRI's Pink Rescue Boys are a good example of that, or a surfboard, a boogie board, anything that floats. If you take something that floats when you go in the water, even as a strong swimmer, your chances of helping that person are very good and of staying out of extreme difficulty yourself.
Now, you know, as a coastal girl, Andrew, I know that rip currents as well as tidal waves change in a drop of a second. I know you mentioned it earlier on. A lot of people don't even know, especially those from outside coastline provinces. They don't know how these actually work. Are you able to then, as the NSIR, give them advice in terms of how they should be able to watch for the ocean on that particular day to ascertain what type of currents as well as tidal waves are going to be coming in at that particular moment?
Yeah, Alicia, so rip currents are definitely the most dangerous thing that people will face when they're going down to the beach. And many people find it very difficult to identify them. And the great danger with rip currents is probably it's best to think of them as a river of water that flows away from the beach. So if you imagine you turn on a tap at home and that water hits the sand and it flows away from the tap, it digs out a channel. You always see that water flows in a little channel. So exactly the same happens when the waves come onto the beach. That water looks for a way to get back out to sea again. It digs out a channel, so that area is deeper than on either side, which will be sandbanks. And if you imagine a swimming pool, the deep end is dark blue and the shallow end is light blue. So when you go down to the beach, you'll see some breaking waves, and between the breaking waves, you might see a dark blue section of water that kind of looks smoother and calmer than the waves on either side, and that's the rip current. And that's the huge danger, that actually quite often what is the most dangerous piece of water, the rip current, looks to people who are not trained like the safest piece of water. So that's really the rub, and that's why you need to go to a beach where lifeguards are and listen to their advice. If you happen to really unfortunately get caught in a rip current and feel yourself being pulled away from the beach, the most important thing that you can do is to prevent yourself panicking. Flip onto your back, float, keep calm. You're going to be pulled away from the beach, but you're not going to be pulled under the water. And the way to escape that rip current is exactly the same as getting out of a river. So if you're falling into a river and you get pulled downstream, you're not going to turn around and swim upstream. So the analogy is you cannot swim back to the beach. You swim to the sides, to the banks. So to get out of a rip current, you swim at 90 degrees to the way that you're being pulled, and you'll then be able to use the waves over the sandbank to get you back to the beach. And in fact, when you're on that sandbank, you can very often stand up.
All right.
If you're unable to put an arm up in the air and wave for help, somebody on the beach hopefully will see you because you've asked somebody to watch you while you're swimming, and they will call 112 for help, and we can send the emergency services to you.
Andrew, great conversation and tips there. Thank you so much, as always, for those. That is Mr. Andrew Ingram, NSIR Communications Manager, as of course the NSIR cautions safety around water bodies, specifically beaches, this festive season.